to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Two Harbors. Roll call.
Woodruff.
Here.
Blasier.
Here.
Renwell.
Here.
Swanson.
Here.
Passy.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Redden.
Here. Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, may I ask that anybody that is viewing or tuning in from Zoom, please mute your microphones so that we can conduct business. All right. Right away, before we get into additions or changes to the agenda, I will ask the council to please disregard the communication from Sarah Wisdorf of LSA Realtors that we heard about in our 5 o'clock meeting. It was expressed that that was a blanket letter that gets sent out automatically due to anything that comes up about moratoriums, and the local realtors have a different view of than what the letter states. All right, are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to request that we make the following changes. Move consent agenda items to new business. Number 16, authorizing payment to Bolton and Macon in the amount of $651 for professional services for the 2021 and 2022 street alley improvement project. Number 18, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute and deliver a memo of agreement for Rusty Creek Gully Stabilization and Erosion Plan funding between Lake County Soil and Water by and through Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Supervisors, the City of Two Harbors, and Rusty Creek Townhomes. Consent agenda number 5, a communication from Mark S. Johnson indicating his concern with the potential conflict of interest involving solicitation of funds by Mayor Swanson for the Two Harbors Performing Arts Center through Garage Starts. 6, a communication from Nicole Bjornrud, Special Investigations Office of the State Auditor, requesting assistance and cooperation in obtaining information concerning any disbursements which may have been made by the city to the following entities: Burlington Station LLC, First Day Events, Garage Starts LLC, Life Garage Holdings LLC, Life Garage LLC, Pure Driven LLC, Vibrant True Harbors, and Callie's Suites. 22, accepting the recommendation of the Personnel Committee to work with Flaherty and Hood on the hiring of a consultant to provide interim administrative services for a period of 1 to 2 years. 23, accepting the recommendation of the Personnel Committee to refer to the City Attorney a proposal for residency requirements for membership on certain city boards and commissions. 24, accepting the recommendation of the Personnel Committee to refer to the City Attorney a review of the process of making citizen appointments to boards and commissions. 25, accepting the recommendation of the Personnel Committee to refer to the City Attorney a proposal to amend the City Code to not allow the appointment of council members as citizen members on city boards and commissions. 26, accepting the recommendation of the Personnel Committee that an annual review of the city's conflict of interest policy, code of conduct, communications policy, respectful workplace policy, and all pertinent documents be conducted with the City Council. The City Council be provided with copies of these policies and requested to sign an acknowledgement that these documents have been received annually. And number 28, accepting the recommendation of Mayor Swanson to appoint Bill Arnold to the City HRA.
Mr. Chair, with regards to items 5 and 6 being moved from consent to the new business, I'd like to also ask that those 2 communications be referred to the City Attorney as well. We add that to those, so that the communications from Mark Johnson and the communication from Nicole Bjornrud be referred to the City Attorney.
Anything else? All right, I'll make a motion for approval of the agenda. Or,
Second.
I'm sorry, I don't make the motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll start with appearances. Number one, we have Dan Crookshank, Cedar Development LLC, property owner, as well as Smoking Gear. And this is about the IRRB Infrastructure Development Grant application. Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you for having me. I have some good news. We've been in business for almost 6 years now. Cedar Development, Spoken Gear Cyclery, and Sodero Manufacturing. And we're to the point now where our building is way too small. We've been making do with cramming things in, and we're ready to grow. So that's what I'm coming here asking for support to request money from the IRRR to fund site preparation for a new building. And the new building would be like twice as big as the current building, so a little over 6,000 square feet. And so that would triple the property value. Basically, you know, our goal is to triple the revenue. So basically going from about 10,000 in property taxes up to 30,000. Also going from about 10,000 in sales tax revenue to up to 30,000. So and hiring about 20 more people to staff our businesses. So I've met with the city planner, Jennifer, and Chris from the IRRR, and they're really excited about the project. So with that, I guess I'll just see if you guys have any questions.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Dan, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
6 years, not the easiest times to be in business, so thank you. And a place that people love stopping from all over, not just 2 hours, people come from all over, so that's great. Your expansion, I'm excited about it. I know your property fairly well. Do you know at all where you're looking at placing the new building, or is it?
Yeah, it would be the new building site. We're talking about putting it to the south of the current building, so between the current building and the trail that goes under the railroad tracks. So just on the south side of that property. We're also gonna need, with the new building and all the new business, we're gonna need an expanded parking lot, which is part of the project. And another utility connection for the new building, and wetlands mitigation, and paving the parking lot. So all those things combined would be funded by the IRRR.
Wonderful, and then it's exciting too, I see that we're talking about trails kind of on the other side of the railroad tracks, kind of finishing that loop, so one more trail that people will be able to enjoy and go right over to your place. It's awesome. Thank you so much for doing business in the community. It's appreciated.
And so Dan's project is a two-phase project. They're going to do an addition onto their current building to expand their kitchen this year with an outdoor patio. And then the second part of it will be the 6,000 square foot building.
Bill, let me stop you, Mr. Chair. What you should do is ask this Mickey McGilligan and Craig's iPad, ask those people to mute so these people can be heard. You don't want anybody in the back to be.
Excuse me. Could I please ask that everybody on Zoom please mute again? We're trying to conduct business here.
Tricks don't stop there.
Sorry, thank you. And so the second part of this project will be a phase 2, and that's going to be a 6,000 approximately square foot building, the expanded parking lot, where they will expand their operations for Spoken Gear and Sodero. And then they are also going to start producing a camping gear line as well. So we're excited about this project. It'll create a lot of jobs, a nice tax base.
Wow,
Yeah,
it's fantastic. Congratulations, Dan.
Yeah, thank you.
thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. Mr. Chair, do we need a motion for that? It's on as it looks like it's,
Yeah, we have a resolution for that.
okay.
Yep.
I guess I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Is that it?
I'm just gonna wait for City Clerk Martin to come back to
Okay, that sounds good.
record our business. City Clerk Martin, we started with the resolution. I have a motion from Mayor Swanson and a second from Councilor Renwald. And then if we could do a roll call, please.
Woodruff,
Yes.
Glasser,
Yes.
Sorry.
Randall,
Hold on one second.
I just had a quick.
That's right, I should give a little bit of time for discussion. Go ahead.
Okay, right.
Yep.
I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to be clear for what Planner Sturban's shared, is that all covered within this, or is there a specific amount that this goes towards?
This is just a grant for site development, so it will be just for the site work. It's earmarked by IRRR, but we're not sure of the cost yet. Dan just met with the civil engineer, but IRRR needs it by February 21st. So we're asking for an amount not to exceed 350, which is the IRRB's maximum. So it could be less, but we won't know until Dan gets the engineer estimates in. Thank you. You're welcome.
Any other discussion? If we could resume roll call, please. Yeah, that's fine.
Woodruff,
Yes.
Glasser,
Yes.
Renwald,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Assy,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Reddick.
Yes. All right.
Thank you.
I also have one slated appearance by John Ramos. I will give him 2 minutes at this time.
Good evening, Council. My name is John Ramos. I'm the publisher and chief investigative reporter with the Duluth Monitor. I came up here tonight to ask a few questions about the underwater hotel, and I was very surprised to find out that the mayor refused to answer any of my questions. He wouldn't even answer the question, "Are you the mayor?" Transparency is extremely important, especially in your elected leaders, and if they're not gonna answer any questions from the media, you have to wonder what it is, you have to wonder why not. So anyhow, I've been looking into this underwater hotel and the mysterious Mr. O, the reclusive billionaire. And if anybody actually thinks this goofball is a billionaire, I got a bridge they can buy. But I just wanna point out a couple of things here. The chief investor at this point in this project is Joe Swanson, the mayor's brother. And the very fact that the mayor is using public resources, holding public meetings, and pushing this project in a public way, that's a blatant conflict of interest, and it's clear he understands nothing about what conflict of interest means. This is like, it's not even hidden, it's right out in the open. And he's hired this Mr. O as a consultant, as a private person, and yet at the same time, he's pushing public forums and the Economic Development Authority's holding hearings for a project which is essentially gonna benefit his brother at this point. So, I'm gonna just leave a bunch of calling cards up here if anybody wants to take one. Councilors or the public, you can take one and give me a call if you want to. Thanks.
All right, sir. All right. We'll move on to administrative reports. Go ahead, Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a repeat of the 5 o'clock, but just currently, City Hall staff is working on our software upgrade project. This project can take anywhere from 8 to 12 months. Carrie Sieber, she's our utility specialist. She's taken the lead on this, and so far she's done a really great job. One of the big portions of it is getting our utility billing structure redesigned for our utility bills, and she's done an excellent job, and we really look forward to sharing that with the community. We've also been working with Bolton Mink, Brian Golden from Bolton Mink and Shannon from David Brown on the PFA loan for the wastewater treatment plant project. That is a extremely large project that will be that we're working on right now, but the bonding for that project will be presented to the council in the next couple months. We've also checked in with our natural gas consultants from Connect Energy to make sure that there are no concerns with this cold weather related issue. I know everybody's probably holding their breath, from a year ago today, but we feel that they are definitely keeping an eye on everything and have given us continuous updates. We've had continued discussion on the water plant project and a possible relocation of the trail around the water plant. One of the other things, I have rescheduled the 2021 audit. We typically have that at the beginning of March, and we've moved that to April 2022, or April of 2022. And then just an update, there was a water leak today. It was on 5th Street and 6th Avenue. The city of Duluth came up to help. They did a leak correlation so we could pinpoint exactly where that leak was coming from. The water is currently being diverted into the creek, and the gas, water, and wastewater employees were all out there jackhammering. They won't reach it until tomorrow, but JBL Contracting is coming to dig the leak. We are planning on issuing notices sometime tomorrow for any water shutoffs that we will have. Those residents, we don't have the exact locations, but it's about 4th Avenue, 5th Avenue, and a block of 6th Avenue. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Tim Costley, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple things to address with the council, and I have the clerk helping me out here with some stuff I want to put in the overhead. You can start with that first one, Patty, please. I did it this way for your benefit. We're going to talk about two things today, and if you don't mind, I'm going to stand back here so I'm not turning my back on people. The two things I want to bring forth, the first thing I want to talk to you about is the Attorney General opinion that we received on February 22nd. That's a brief conversation, and then we're going to talk about conflict of interest. That has been put before me, and I've got some slides to walk you through that. So, does it work? All right. All right, so we got our Attorney General opinion back on February 22nd. No surprise, the Attorney General rendered an opinion that the Minnesota statute that applied 471.87, there is no violation of that at this time. And it's based upon two premises, and the premises we assumed at the beginning, one that there were no contracts proposed to the city, and number two, no evidence of personal financial interest of the mayor. And again, remember, we were talking at the time about the podcast by Mr. O, the website, the Twitter feed, and the New York Times article. Just as a follow-up, I did get a phone call from the Attorney General in the New York Times article after their opinion came out, just saying that they're not going to render another opinion because it's the same as what they rendered before. So what we're left with, and so what they said, and remember, we had state statute, city code, city charter, city communications policy. There were four things that are potentially applicable to the communications. So the statute's been ruled out by the Attorney General, and lo and behold, what they said was, well, Mr. City Attorney, it's your responsibility to do the analysis and render an opinion. in conjunction with the letter they sent to me, they gave me an attorney general opinion dated way back in 1975 that says just that. The city attorney is the appropriate official to analyze the factors that have to be considered in looking at charters or resolutions or ordinances. I understand it. Their reasoning is that the city attorney is in a better position to analyze facts that are happening in the community than the attorney general. I wish they would have rendered a decision, but they didn't. So it comes back to me. So what you're left with, what's left here, is the question of whether the communications, the Mr. O podcast, the website, the Twitter account, the New York Times article are proper under city code, charter, or communications policy. I will put one thing before the council. I have now, I think, been asked to address the email from Mark Johnson. I will tell the council I would look at that in a very similar light. It is a communication, and if asked, I would analyze that under the same three provisions of city rules, code, charter. So with the Attorney General opinion, you have four choices. Number one is to do nothing. That's within your prerogative. Number two is you can discuss it amongst yourselves and come up with a resolution. You have options that we can discuss if that's a route you wish to go down. Number three is the city attorney's way of trying to get out of doing work, and that is retain special counsel to render a written opinion to the council. Or number four, ask me to render a written opinion based upon those communications and the policies that are in place. I don't want to be flippant about option number three because I think it's important that everybody agrees that you have a fair arbiter of this and a fair person looking at it, making an analysis. Some people could say, well, you're the city attorney and you may have a bias one way or another, or you have a favorite one way or another. I don't. I will do my job, but I want everybody to know that you have an option of going and getting independent counsel to make that analysis, and I certainly assist the council in finding an appropriate person to do that. We have a few around that I think would be capable. So that's item number one. You're going to have to make a decision what you want to do. Those are your four options. Okay? Now,
Missed the four options.
I want to talk about tall ships. So I want to just back up and let's walk through this so we know how we get here. At the last meeting on February 7th, there was a request that came to me that asked whether or not the city was going to pull a DNR permit for the event. My concerns at the time were, number one, why are we pulling it at all? Why isn't the promoter pulling it? We never got those answers. I know there's answers out there. Somebody could get those from the DNR. I'm sure the DNR is going to say, well, we'd rather work with the city. It's easier for us. I don't care if it's easier for the DNR. I want the city to understand that they accept liability if they do that. So, if the city does pull the permit, we need to have a contractual relationship with whoever the entity is that's running that event down there, which you know, and for the benefit of the public, it's the boat launch and the land in front of the depot. So, if we pull it, we need a contract with that entity, all right? There are things that our city insurance do not cover. There are questions about defense and indemnification of the city in the event something happened. We would want to explore all those, make sure we have a contractual agreement with that entity to protect the city if we pull the permit, okay? So, after the first day events meeting, I think there was an article that came up just prior to that. We had an article in the Duluth paper that identified first events, and there was some issues brought up about that. But first day events on February 7th was the event planner that we were told, at least my understanding was, they were going to be the person in charge of the DNR property. Okay, so they're identified as the event planner. That's who we would contract with. So then we get an article in the Duluth paper that makes some allegations about first day events. I have gone on the Secretary of State website and independently verified some of these things, but the facts that we have, that you have in front of you, are this. On December 25th, 2021, the council approves a letter of support for the potential hosting of tall ships. On February 7th, 2022, the meeting last week, first day events comes before the council and requests that we apply for the DNR special event permit. The articles of incorporation that we know, which I looked up and verified, first day events was incorporated on September 9th, 2021. The incorporator was Ashley Swanson, who I take it is the mayor's daughter. I don't know Ashley, but the registered address is 719 3rd Avenue, 2 Harbors, which is alleged to be the mayor's home. The certificate of incorporation is signed by Sarah Costley, who I believe, and it has been alleged, is an employee of 2 other entities that are owned by the mayor, Pure Driven and Garage Starts. And the mailing address on the certificate of incorporation is 629 7th Avenue, 2 Harbors. This same address, I believe, is the corporate offices for Garage Starts and Pure Driven. I also believe it is true that Sarah Coster is an executive administrator for Garage Starts. So that raises the issue of a potential conflict. So how do we deal with that? Well, conflicts they're not exciting, they're not something you turn on TV shows and watch stories about, but they're extremely important to attorneys and they're extremely important to public officials. Serious, serious business. That's why I'm going to put before you the provisions that you need to look at, the laws, the charter, and the code that apply to a conflict of interest. In the city charter, and we're a charter city, there is a provision in there that talks about city contracts for officers not to be interested in. And I've just highlighted some things, but the basic premise is that, I'll read it, and I would ask that you listen to it, because I don't know if you can read that. No elected or appointed officer of the city shall, while in office, vote for or make any contract in behalf of the city or any department of the city with himself or herself, or with any firm of which he or she is a member, or with any corporation or association of which he or she is an officer or director, nor shall he or she be in any manner directly or indirectly interested in any contract with the city, and in any contract in which said officer of the city is or becomes directly or indirectly interested shall become absolutely void, and any officer by said act shall forfeit his or her said office. That's the first provision that you have before you want a conflict. And I'm going to go through all 3 and then we're going to come back and talk. City Code Chapter 2, Section 2.61, Code of Conduct and Ethics, Subdivision 2, Conflicts of Interest. It is unlawful for any elected official having the power or duty to perform an official act or action to be directly or indirectly interested in any contract, transaction, or zoning decision of the city except as provided for in Minnesota law. And B, any elected official who has an interest in any proposed action by the city council or board or commission shall disclose on the record of the city council or board the nature and extent of such interest. And then we come back to Minnesota Statute 471.87, which I mentioned earlier. That's the public officer's interest in a contract statute. It states, except as authorized in section 123B.195 of 471.88, a public officer who is authorized to take part in any manner in making a sale, lease, or contract in that official capacity shall not voluntarily have a personal interest in the sale, lease, or contract, or personally benefit financially therefrom. Every public officer who violates this provision is guilty of a gross misdemeanor. And to clarify for you, 123B.195 doesn't apply. That's when you work for the school and you want to be on the school board. That's what that deals with. And 47188, there are exceptions to this rule as far as contracting with an elected official. I'm telling you, none of them apply here. They're very specific exceptions in the statute. So what does that do for you? Where do you go from here? The first thing that's important to note for all three rules, the code, the charter, the statute, the prohibition of an elected official entering into a contract that he or she is directly or indirectly interested is absolute. You cannot disclose it, you cannot waive it, it's an absolute no. Okay? You have to be clear on that, you need to understand it. So abstaining from a vote doesn't solve the problem. I will also tell you that when you talk about a contract, there's a case out there, and I believe it's based on an Attorney General opinion that says even applying for something like a liquor license creates the same analysis. That is the same as entering into a contract. They construe it broadly. And unfortunately for me and for you, we don't have a lot of case law out there construing the statute 471.7. So I have limited guidance by what's in front of me in the law. But the question, as I see it, is the nature of the interest such that it could reasonably influence the voting member? So I have two questions that I see here that are before you. Number one, does promoting tall ships with a letter of potential support create a conflict of interest? Well, we don't know whether the mayor has a direct or indirect financial interest. That's not something we know. Timing and the contents of the contract between First Day Events and the promoter, we don't know. Should the mayor have disclosed to the council that First Day Events was involved before the vote on October 25th? Well, this is what you need to think about. All right, the facts that we know, and they're not disputed, that the company was organized by his daughter, registered to his home address, and run by one of his employees, or at least she was here that day representing him. And was First Day Events involved when the letter of support was approved? We don't know, and I'm going to come back to this. The second question that has now come up before this council is, does signing a contract with First Day Events create a conflict of interest? Again, we don't have any evidence that the mayor does or does not have a personal financial interest, either directly or indirectly. We don't know that. There is no guiding case law for me on whether contracts with family members create a conflict of interest. We just don't have that. I don't have a case that's interpreted the law. Obviously, we don't have cases interpreting our own code and charter. So, no guidance, really. Okay? There is no hard and fast answer to that question. But, what I do know, the city is not in the business of doing forensic accounting or conducting investigations. That's not what we do. That's not what we're supposed to do. You have to assume that every council member is acting ethically and disclosing any interests that are improper. You have to assume that until you learn otherwise. A request from the state auditor seeking information about first day events has been made. That should cause you pause. That should cause you to exercise caution going forward here when you decide whether or not there's, I'm not casting an aspersion either way, but that is something that you are aware of, and you have to consider when you make your decision. We have something called League of Minnesota Cities. League of Minnesota Cities is a great organization, I think. They give lawyers lots of help, they give staff lots of help, they render lots of publications to give us guidance in various areas of municipal law. So what does the League say? The League advises cities regarding ethical issues. Ethical questions are often difficult to answer. Not all situations fit neatly into current guidelines, so conduct that is not clearly prohibited still may seem inappropriate. This appearance of impropriety can damage a council member's image as well as the city's reputation, making it worthy of consideration. My commentary as a city attorney: you should not operate in gray areas. You should not act first and ask for forgiveness later. You should do your homework and ask questions up front. You can't run this like a private corporation. You can't shut the door and do what you want. Be transparent always, and be accountable to the community always. That's my personal advice as your attorney, as a counselor. And that's the goal here, I think, for everybody. But it is extremely important that you consider those factors as well going forward. I have just a couple more. So this doesn't necessarily apply to the issue before the council today, but I want you to read this and understand this. And this comes again from the League. The League says, when you have conflicts of interest, how should you handle that? Number one, consult the city attorney. Right? That's great. That's fine with me. I get paid to do that. I'm glad to help you. Number two, disclose the interest as early as possible, orally and in writing. Number three, do not attempt to influence others. Number four, do not participate in discussions, and when possible, leave the room so the remaining members of the council can discuss the matter. Number five is follow the statutory procedures, providing for the contracting exceptions. Those are the exceptions I talked to you about earlier that take this out of having to have a conflict. They don't apply here, okay? But we always try to err on the side of not crossing an ethical line. That's what we're trained as lawyers. That's what I'm advising the council to do. So that's my analysis for you. I don't make the decision. It's up to you to debate it. I look forward to getting this addressed and getting it behind us in an appropriate way. I know that I signed up to do this job to build houses and do some economic development, and I'd like to get to that. This is distracting you folks, so thank you.
Question. You had started off a contract is a very special thing, and there's a lot of things. The three items you went through all were specific to contracts. Is a special events permit a contract?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And if this clarifies it for you, Councilor Bassey, under this scenario, we were being asked, or I would ask, I'm asking as a city attorney, if we're gonna pull a permit, whoever's running that event's gonna have a contract with us. And they indemnify us, they defend us if we get sued. That's a direct contract as well, okay? And that's where that's how the analysis came about.
Mr. Chair, just as a point of clarification, I guess you said something, Mr. Costley, in regards to who was gonna hold the permit. The city was being asked to be the permit holder, and that was gonna be First Day Events that was gonna hold that permit. It wasn't my understanding necessarily that that's what was gonna happen. I think the DNR actually kind of wanted that to happen with the city of Two Harbors. And originally that wasn't the understanding that I had in regards to that. Does that change kind of the perspective of First Day Events? It wasn't requested, they weren't gonna do anything with the city in regards to that permit, if that makes sense.
Well, it does. What was put in front of me was a request to analyze the city pulling the permit, the special events permit from the DNR. That's what I was asked to look at. That's what we talked about at the meeting last week.
Okay, yeah, and then my next question, I guess, as a follow-up is, so when is I'm a process person, so when is the appropriate time to say that you have the conflict of interest? Is that in that meeting, or is it something that you would expect that would happen ahead of time?
Always, as soon as you know.
Okay,
There's no reason to wait, folks, on a conflict. You spell it out.
sure.
Be open, talk about it. Let's get to the bottom of it.
Sure. And again, just another question on it. I had actually, it's interesting, I had sought council opinion myself. I was concerned that maybe something that had happened was inappropriate. So if there was never an ask for a contract with the city, I guess I'm trying to get this understood. So the city never held a contract, is the understanding that I'm hearing from you? Like, there was never a request for a contract until like that night?
Well, I don't want to be crossing in the night here, Mr. Mayor. If the city is going to be asked to pull the DNR permit, as the city attorney, my request is that we have a contract with the event planner to, pass the liability on to them. If we have the permit, we're in control of the land, we have the responsibility. The First Day Events is the event planner. I want to have a contract with them that they indemnify and defend us. The second thing that could happen is what if First Day Events pulls the permit and the city's not involved? Again, this council has a question. Are in-kind services a direct or indirect benefit? I know there was a proposal to pave some trails down there with city money. Is that a direct or indirect benefit? Those are the questions. And you get to answer those.
I'd like to make a correction. The city never proposed to pay anything for paving those trails down there. I'm a member of the Trees and Trails Committee, and it was brought to our committee.
Okay, well, I apologize, and I misunderstood that from what I read.
I'm just gonna ask one more time that everybody that's on Zoom, please mute their microphones. Thank you. Is there any other questions for our attorney? Go ahead, Miles.
So, I get, where I'm looking for transparency is, through, I guess, interest in family members. And that's a gray area, you're saying? I guess one of my concerns was a letter from Mark Johnson and that with money being exchanged. Not through the city, but, so I guess what I'm asking is, the conflict of interest. It doesn't say specifically whether the family member is involved, if that is a violation.
That is correct.
Okay.
But, so going forward, you can tailor a code of conduct and an ethics policy, conflict policy, any way you want. You can redefine that. And I know that's been in here, that is gonna be reviewed. I've been asked to review all three. And those are things that you can decide you wanna put in there going forward.
Mr. Chair, I'd like the record to reflect that I've been asking for a conflict of interest policy that's clear, because our charter and our code say slightly different things, as you've referred to, Mr. Costley, for probably over 6 months now. And I brought that to the attention of Public Affairs, asking for the process to be tight. In fact, I think a few of the council members that sit here, that sit on Public Affairs, know that that's been getting asked for. And in fact, I think That moved forward a few council meetings ago, after, that request. So I just wanna make sure everybody's aware that this has been a concern of mine for some time to really understand this. And I want everybody to understand that I was very crystal clear that Sarah Coster was my admin that worked for me with city staff. Because I didn't know how to handle that, but I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. So I did do that. I think from what I'm hearing, that if this was a lot clearer in the process, I think, I didn't even understand a lot of it. I thought we had to just bring it at that meeting and abstain. And I'm hearing you say it's deeper than that. You don't just abstain, you actually make yourself, or I'm guessing the city administration, aware of that. Is that accurate?
No, it's not. I want to make sure I'm clear on this with you folks. It's very important. It is an absolute bar to have a contract where an elected official has a direct or indirect interest. Can't do it. Doesn't matter if you disclose it, doesn't matter if you abstain. Complete bar. Can't go there.
Is that state law, or is that just our city code and charter then?
That's the code, that's the charter,
Okay.
that's the state statute.
Okay, because I guess, Mr. Chair, in speaking to my council, what it was shared with me is that the state law recognizes, in particular in small communities, that people will have conflicts of interest. We all have to make a living, and obviously I'm a business person. And sometimes a conflict of interest will arise, which, as I understand, it's holding contract with the city of Two Harbors. If I have an interest in that contract, that has to be disclosed. But my understanding was the purpose is to allow for that business to be transparent, so that you can still do the business, and the council has to have the policy, can't vote. A lot of councils will actually say, nope, you have to leave the room. We've actually done that a few times in our conflict of interest in the past. And so I'm confused by that. And I need to know which one it is. Is it an absolute bar? Because the advice I'm getting is no, the purpose of the state law is to allow for that to happen, and through a transparent transaction without participation from that elected official.
Well, you have your own attorney giving you legal advice, that's fine, but this council has my opinion. It is an absolute bar.
Just a question of clarification for the attorney. Regardless of who pulls the permit, is it my understanding that there would be a contract or an agreement to spell out the things related to the work and responsibility of the city, even whether or not we have the permit, or the promoter or organizer has the permit? Could you clarify that?
Well, I'm not the permit person. I think she's sitting here. But if, for instance, an entity pulled the DNR permit, they're still coming to us for a special events permit for vendor licensing, correct?
I hate to pass the buck, but Patty's actually does the special event permits.
So would I.
Okay, ask again. No, yeah, I wasn't. So what you're asking, Kathy? Same thing.
Yep, my question is whether, regardless of who has the permit, would there still be a consideration of an agreement with either the promoter or the organizer between the city and that entity to spell out things not related to the permit, but to things of consideration of the city, such as possible reimbursement of costs, agreements on certain specifications that are the responsibilities of the city versus the responsibility of the promoter? Would that be something we would be considering regardless of who had the permit?
I would certainly hope that that would be the instance. I shared with this council a few weeks ago a sample policy from another community that hosts large events such as this, and I recommended that the council consider making changes to our existing policy to be able to recover some of those costs, and that would be my intention with that policy.
Any other questions for our attorney at this time? Doesn't look like it. Thank you, Tim. This time we'll move on to committee reports. We'll start out with the Trees and Trails Commission.
Okay, the Trees and Trails Commission met on January 26th, and we did have, we welcomed the two commission members, Jenna Woodenberg and Doug Burke. Jenna represents the disabled section that we have not acknowledged previously, and Doug represents a motorized fraction of the community that we haven't previously had as far as representation. We had some discussion about the MnDOT Highway 61 and the trail alignment and how it will be, where the trail will go, and how we can really get the trail off of Highway 61. We also discussed the Odegaard Trail project. Subsequent to that, we were made aware of the county project, which could help us with the Odegaard Trail construction. We also looked at the 2022 work plan for the trees and trails. And there was an item on the agenda to discuss the Agape Trail. Terry Creedy brought it up, and the discussion was there is no funding within the Trees and Trails budget for paving of the Agape Trail or Sanju Trail, whatever you want to call it, at this point. And so, furthermore, it's not on city property, so it isn't likely to be. We didn't advise designating any city funds for that trail at this time. The Agape Trail, Sanju Trail, starts at the Edna G parking lot, and then it goes along the shore over to the boat launch area. Currently, it is a gravel trail and not officially designated, but it is well used to get from the depot area over to the boat launch. And it does connect up to the city trail, which passes behind wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you, Derek. Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Works did meet, but I had a commitment and I was not able to attend.
Actually, I believe the most recent Public Works Committee was canceled due to lack of.
That's what it was. Well, because I wasn't able to. Okay. It did get canceled.
The Edna G Commission.
We don't have a lot going on in the Edna G. Recently, we've had to pull the bubblers out. We discovered that we need to be in our permit to have them. And somebody fell through the ice and they thought it was due to the bubblers. I think it was due to thin ice, in my own personal opinion, but we're also hoping to meet up with Paul Lemaire on our next Edna G Commission meeting. He just went through a bunch of different points of where he thinks we could improve the boat, like even cameras, and just, he had a lot of different advice for us. We hired him, I believe, last year to look it over. And we just continued our maintenance list of some stuff that we want to get done in the summer. That's all we have.
Thank you. The Utilities Committee met. Basically, our interim administrator kind of went over what we talked about in the Utilities Committee already. It was a review on the gas prices with staff, and that they had reached out to Connect Energy and are in good connection with them to ensure that, we're doing everything we possibly can with gas prices, especially in these cold times of the year. And we also went over the water treatment plant project, the road and trail behind the water treatment plant, and kind of making some tweaks and adjustments with our engineers as to, what we'd like to see, and as well as what can actually be engineered and done with the trail that is right by the water treatment plant, as well as a parking lot area and an overlook behind the water treatment plant versus in front of it. And that's about all we talked about in utilities. We'll go to Public Safety Committee.
Go ahead, Councilor Ramos. I don't have notes.
I didn't have my notes, I was going to say. I know that tall ships was an issue that was discussed as far as how that was going to be approached, and that there have been some ideas and thoughts about different ways to get traffic into town without everyone using Highway 61. So that remains top of everyone's mind as far as public safety is going at this time. Thank you.
One of the things that they did bring up is that the police department is being struck with COVID and a lot of absenteeism due to illness, so they are stretched as it is.
HRA.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The HRA met on February 8th. We were excited to find out that our 2021 audit has been completed and approved. Discussed some changes to the insurance for our employees through compensation consultants. We had a discussion with regards to commissioners and their appointed terms. I believe that the current president of the HRA, Robert Norland, sent out a message to the mayor with regards to that. And, we did talk about still looking into getting security cameras at the facility. It seems it might be a bit cost prohibitive, but I'm hoping that we can work through that, continue to have good safety down there. So that's what it.
Thank you. Library Board.
The library board did meet, but I was here at a special meeting, and so not conquering space and time, I wasn't able to attend that.
Personnel Committee, excuse me.
Thank you. Personnel Committee met last week. We reviewed, we had some discussion with regards to the city administrator position and working with Flannery and Hood to find an interim administrator. Patty already referred to the public works specialist issue that we're trying to move forward with those openings. We did have a discussion with regards to the items that are on the agenda 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26. All of which were discussed and approved unanimously by the Personnel Committee. So I'm hoping that those will move forward this evening. Other than that, I think that's about it.
Thank you. And then next there's appointments to the ad hoc committee on vetting ethical concerns. And my appointments to that are myself and Councilor Woodruff. All right, up next I have a resolution approving the consent agenda items.
So moved.
I'll second.
Patty, could you please read those items in?
Certainly. Number 1, approving minutes from the January 20th special and January 24th, 2022 regular city council meetings. 2, allowing claims against the city of Two Harbors to be paid on February 15th, 2022. 3, approving payroll for the second half of January 2022. 4, a memorandum from Joe Rain, Bolton and Mink, providing an update of city engineering projects. 5, we move to the new business. 6, we move to new business. 7, a communication from Minnesota Department of Agriculture regarding the Gypsy Moth Management Program. 8, authorizing a letter of request to MnDOT for the 2025 highway project lighting. 9, accepting the proposal of McCoy Construction and Forestry for the purchase of a new John Deere 320G skid steer with new snow blower for an amount of $56,350, less trade-in for the 2000 Bobcat 73 skid steer, and blower for an amount of $10,500, and plus optional tires for an amount of $2,300 for a total amount of $48,150. 10, accepting the proposal of Seagram's, that was tabled. 11, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute and deliver a revised golf cart lease with Club Car LLC for the 2023 through 2027 golf seasons. 12, accepting a proposal from Jim Perot Construction for replacement of certain windows and the front door of the community center for an amount of $42,750. 13, authorizing payment to Lakehead Constructors in the amount of $282,909.83 for pay application number 3 for the wastewater treatment plant project. 14, authorizing payment to Bolton and Mink in the amount of $2,994 for general engineering services from November 27th through December 24th of 2021. 15, authorizing payment to Bolton and Mink in the amount of $806 for professional services for the 2019 street and alley improvement project. 17, designated 517 old electric meters as discarded equipment and authorizing the electrical superintendent to discard or recycle them. 19, authorizing expenses for the mayor or councilors who may wish to attend Capitol Days in St. Paul. 20, authorizing the establishment of a temporary committee to be appointed by the council president consisting of councilors and staff for the purpose of considering options and making recommendations to the council regarding a proposed liquor store project. 21, authorizing the establishment of a temporary committee be appointed by the council president consisting of councilors and staff for the purpose of considering options and making recommendations to the city council regarding the RFP for a strategic plan. 27, authorizing the request of the electrical superintendent to allow he and Evans and Redsky to attend the NMUA 2022 leader school training in Marshall, Minnesota. And 29, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute and deliver a joint powers agreement between the city of Two Harbors and Lake County for Odegaard Park Trail construction.
So moved.
Second.
I already have a motion and a second, I'm looking for discussion. Any discussion on this? Roll call, please.
Woodruff,
Yes.
Roger,
Yes.
Grandwell,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Passy,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Redden,
Yes. Great. Moving on to unfinished business. I have to get all my stuff lined up here. All right. Unfinished business, item number 1.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I apologize.
No problem.
last person unmuted.
Sorry, if you can't, that's just a little distraction.
Can we just click it on the other laptop so it comes up in the Hollywood Squares?
Here we go.
All right, number 1, under unfinished business, I have a resolution. Consider declaring the third and final reading of an ordinance of the City of Two Harbors, Minnesota, amending section 4.42 of the Two Harbors City Code concerning short-term rentals for the purpose of establishing a moratorium on all short-term rental permits received as of the adoption of this ordinance to end no later than May 15th, 2022.
Still move.
Second.
Any discussion on this item?
Mr. Chair, while I do not have any short-term rentals, my wife does with her hotel advertise on Airbnb and VRBO. Therefore, I will be abstaining from this vote.
Noted. All All right, roll call, please.
Woodruff,
Yes.
Clauser,
Yes.
Grunwald,
Yes.
Swanson,
Abstain.
Passy,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Reddin.
Yes. Unfinished business item number 2, it's a resolution accepting the recommendation of THETA to approve certain amendments to their bylaws. And, oh, sorry, I have that,
It got referred to.
that's right, moving the THETA recommendations and sending it to the attorney for review. The actual resolution on the table.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on this item? Roll call, please.
Woodruff,
Yes.
Clauser,
Yes.
Grunwald,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Passy,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Reddin.
Yes. All right, unfinished business item number 3, a motion directing staff whether or not to make application for a DNR permit for the use of DNR property near Agape for Tall Ships Festival. Looking for a motion. I'll move to table that item again until our next meeting.
I'll second that.
All right. Move to new business. Item number 1. Should we have a vote on that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to abstain. Can we have a roll call, please?
Roll call, please, Patty.
Woodruff,
Yes.
Clauser,
Yes.
Grunwald,
Yes.
Swanson,
Abstain.
Passy,
No.
Erickson,
Yes.
Reddin.
Yes.
Mr. President, I'm looking at that again, and I guess I should have asked for clarification, but directing staff whether or not to make application for a DNR permit for the use of DNR property. So this whole decision would go to the staff, or is it's not giving them a direct to do so, or is it telling them not to, or we're not in favor of it? I guess it's a very vague wording.
So the motion would be either way, but it's technically tabled at the next meeting. So you would either make a motion to direct staff, or you would make a motion not to direct staff in your motion. That's how I read it.
I would then like to say that I would rather have, did we not go to staff?
Okay, that's fine.
But that wasn't what was being voted on. The motion was being voted on. To table it or not.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
thank
we're
you.
just tabling it until the next meeting.
Okay.
That's what the motion is.
Mr. President, I voted no on this simply because the question that the city attorney posed is, should the city make application to the DNR? And in my opinion, the city should not be making application to the DNR. The city should be preparing a special use permit for this event. And that would be the contract between the city and the promoter.
All right, moving on to new business. Item number 1 is a resolution authorizing payment to Bolton Bank in the amount of $651 for professional services for the 2021-2022 street and alley improvement project.
So moved.
Any discussion on this item?
Yes, I asked for this one to be taken off the consent agenda because in December 15th, we had a meeting, Miranda, the mayor, myself, with Bolton and Mink, and at that time, Bolton and Mink indicated that they would prepare a written estimate of cost to complete this project complete this project. as of this date, we still have not received that written estimate.
And what date was that meeting, Derek? Sorry.
It was on December 15th.
Is there a motion on the floor right now, Mr. Chair?
There is,
Okay,
I have a motion from Erickson and a second from Woodruff.
Mr. Chair, just to follow up with that, one of the concerns that we've had is just making sure that we live up to the agreement that we have with Bolton and May, which explicitly states that they will provide for us an estimate of engineering fees on all projects. And so that was the discussion, and I agree with Councilor Passy. I think I'd like to lay this over to the next meeting to get that information. It's very important to us and to the taxpayers that they understand the cost of these projects. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Councilor Erickson.
I'm sorry, how does that relate to this specific invoice? I'm not following.
This invoice is for work that was completed after that meeting on December 15th when they indicated that they would provide that written estimate
For the completion of this project?
for the completion of the 2021-2022 street construction project.
Can I follow up with another question? Is there still outstanding cost due to this besides the 651, and is there a routine involved?
No, I have spoken with Joe Ramos with Bolton, and they are preparing that document for the council. However, this is the winter season. I know that they submitted this, and this was in between that meeting. So, you know, I know that they're working on it. Before the spring season starts picking up with construction for that project, they will have something for the council to review, I assume sometime shortly.
Can I follow up with one more question? Does administration then recommend moving forward with number 16, then knowing that this particular thing was put on the agenda and that the other follow-up information will be provided?
Correct. I would recommend to go forward with this invoice.
Thank you.
And
No, I just see that Joe has his hand up, our engineer. Go ahead, Joe.
Yes, Mr. President, yeah, and in response to the comments from Councilor Passy and Mayor Swanson, they're absolutely correct that we did have a meeting in early December regarding creating a budget for the balance of the project. My understanding was the budget was going to be for the 2022 portion of the project, and so that's what I've been targeting for, was to have a budget to you in March prior to the start of construction of the 2022 portion of the contract. The invoice that's on your agenda tonight was for work that was still done in December of 21 and related to this past season's construction, which is why it was submitted tonight prior to the budget being submitted. If the council prefers that I start a budget back from December 3rd or whatever the date of the meeting was, December 15th, I can certainly do that, and you could table this invoice until the budget is submitted. But it's just simple miscommunication. My understanding was I was providing a budget for the 2022 portion of the project, and this is invoice for 2021 time. So whatever your pleasure is, if you want to proceed with this invoice or a table, I'm fine either way. And I can set the start of the written budget with whatever date you prefer.
Thank you, Joe. All right, so I did have a move to table from the mayor. You said you.
Well, I
wanted to
just,
ask us
that was only my, that didn't have to be phone friendly, obviously. But yeah, my concern was just more of, waiting 2 weeks and if we get that information, but whatever the council decides, Mr. Sure.
Sure.
I guess to Councilor Passy, if you are provided that information and this is an eligible expenditure that we've already been understood as a past expenditure, are you okay with paying this and knowing that that's coming from Joe Rain who just shared that with us?
Well, the reason for the meeting is to find out the total engineering costs for the project. That would have included past engineering plus future engineering. And I am understanding that there were really 4 hours on this bill that are being paid now that could have been done prior to our meeting. I have no problem paying this at this point, but it is the estimate that I understood would be the cost to engineering costs to complete the project.
Thank you for the clarification. And if the mayor is okay that we move forward with this based on Councilor Passy's
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on this item? Roll call, please.
Woodruff,
Yes.
Fleischer,
Yes.
Grunwald,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Hesse,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Reddit.
Yes. All right. New business item number 2. Resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute and deliver a memorandum of agreement for the Rustic Creek Gully Stabilization and Erosion Control Plan funding between Lake County Soil and Water Conservation District by and through the Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Supervisors, the City of Two Harbors, and Rustic Creek Townhomes.
So moved.
I'll second.
Yep.
Okay, just clear. Wasn't sure if we needed to wait for him to come back.
Mr. Chair, I think we're gonna make that one contingent upon City Attorney Costley's, there were some edits that came in last minute this afternoon that he hasn't had a chance to look at, and they were, done after the original memorandum was submitted, so I think this one was gonna be contingent upon City Attorney Costley approving those new edits too.
Find that.
Do you find that?
Yes.
So we will amend that to contingent on City Attorney Costley going over the new material. All right. Roll call, please.
Woodruff,
Yes.
Fleischer,
Yes.
Grunwald,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Reddit.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, would you mind going to grab here? Oh, sure. Eric? Oh, there you go. Yep. What's up? Okay, number 5. A communication from Mark S. Johnson indicating his concern with the potential conflict of interest involving solicitation of funds by Mayor Swanson for the Two Harbors Performing Arts Center through Garage Starts.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion that we move this forward.
A second for discussion.
Go ahead.
Is the motion to just accept acknowledgement of the letter, or is there something, is there, I'm confused by,
My second, I would like to find, if the mayor finds it friendly to refer this to the city attorney and the ad hoc committee that was just formed.
Yep.
Is that okay with you? You find that-
Yeah, I find that friendly.
Okay, then that would be the motion, is to refer it to the attorney.
Okay, so referring to the city attorney, the communication from Mark S. Johnson, and indicating his concern with the potential as well as with the ad hoc committee. Okay.
Mr. Chair, from Mike.
Go ahead.
In regards to this situation, this did catch me a little bit by surprise. This had been addressed in the past with kind of the former administration. And my understanding is that, at least at the time, and your opinion might be different, but my understanding, Mr. Chair, is that because the city does not hold any sort of contract with the performing arts, the nonprofit performing arts, Friends of the Van Shell Park nonprofit, that there is no conflict. There's been no money exchange, no vote. no contract between the city and that entity, or the city and Garage Starts. Further, Garage Starts, they requested that, and I think some of you might recall this, they requested that when I started helping out with Garage Starts, that be disclosed to the community. So that was disclosed at that time, publicly. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. So, we have a motion and a second. You guys found that friendly, correct? Okay. Roll call, please.
Woodruff,
Yes.
Wachter,
Yes.
Redwald,
Yes.
Swanson.
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Redden.
Yes. Number 6 of new business, a communication from Nicole Yarnroot, Special Investigations Officer of the State Auditor, requesting assistance and cooperation in obtaining information concerning any disbursements which may have been made by the city to the following entities: Burlington Station LLC, First Day Events, Garage Starts LLC, Life Garage Holdings LLC, Life Garage LLC, Pure Driven LLC, Vibrant Two Harbors, and Cali Suites.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion and move that forward.
Mr. Chair.
I don't think there's any action required on this matter, it's just a communication.
Mr. Chair, I think that when Robin asked that this be moved to new business, she also requested that it was referred to the city attorney. So I think that's the action. Am I correct, Councilor Glazier?
Yeah. I think the mayor actually asked for it to be moved.
I mean, I find that friendly to send it to the city attorney. for sure.
Right, that's what I was.
So we'll make that amendment.
I'll second that.
Mr. Chair, if I might speak to this. There's actually been situations in the past where other businesses in the community have been able to participate in receiving grants from the city of Two Harbors. I think all of you sitting around this table remember a situation in which, and I have the emails to back that up. I spoke to former city administrator Dan Walker, put that in writing, and said that we will not be participating as a family or in our family businesses in receiving grants or grant money. Just want to make sure everybody's crystal clear on that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other discussion on this item? Roll call, please.
Woodruff,
Yes.
Glazier,
Yes.
Redwald,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Redden.
Yes. All right, new business item number 7. Motion accepting the recommendation of the Personnel Committee to work with Flaherty and Hood on the hiring of a consultant, provide interim administrator services for a period of 1 to 2 years.
Also move.
Second.
Any discussion on this item? Go ahead.
I guess my question is, I know I've been pushing for the administrator position to happen. It seems to me in our best interest that we have one that is more engaged than just for 1 or 2 years, just in the interest of the city. And as far as moving it forward with housing, with development, with roads, someone who is going to be invested long-term rather than just have a mentality of, I'm just here for a little bit. So I don't know if I agree with the interim option. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Miles.
Well, what was the discussion on personnel? I can see the need for it. I also see your point of view, Councilor Reynolds, is that I would like to get somebody that's gonna be here for the long run, but I think right now, I also see the other side, and I think staff is being overwhelmed with all the stuff that's going on, and I think, yeah, it's a trick. I guess, what was the discussion on personnel?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
This did pass unanimously, but as a member of personnel, I really thought that what we were trying to get across is that the council should discuss this. That's why we wanted to bring it to the council. And it, the concern, I think, was exactly, Councilor Redden addressed it, that, you know, there's so much going on right now that potentially if you, you know, bring somebody in for the long haul, there might be all these issues that they have to deal with and so on and so forth. And so this has been kind of weighing heavily on me, frankly, because I feel like, as I thought about it after, not that I'm opposed to the 2 years, but I just feel like, you know, the administrator could help solve a lot of the issues we're dealing with right now. And I feel like having somebody long haul, it takes 2 to 3 years. We've heard that from staff in the past. I'm open to either one, but I guess what I was hoping for was maybe a little more of an opportunity, like we talked about, to kind of get together and say, here's how I'm feeling about this. So I think you can go either way, but it's a big decision, you know, and it's something we should take seriously, so.
That's a huge decision. Patty, did you have something to add?
I did. As a city clerk, sitting in this position on an interim basis, just as a deputy, I can't tell this group of people that are sitting here what a difficult time it has been for me in my career. 31 years I've been here. And I've taken more abuse by members of this council than any one of you can imagine. And those very ones that are sitting here making statements about, that I feel are derogatory, ought to be ashamed.
Yeah.
I want to say that if I was a city administrator looking for a job at another community right now, you couldn't pay me enough to want to work for this city with individuals that are sitting on this council. And the purpose of us waiting, of us recommending that this be held off, is because the quality of, there's for any position, there are people that are less desirable, maybe inexperienced. Those are the kind of people that are going to be looking and open, willing and interested in a position, any position they can get. But the ones that you want for a position like this are the ones that are tenured, or the ones that have been working in communities and are eager to come out and have great experience and knowledge. Not someone that's going to be a pushover to a mayor or any council member that comes in here.
Well said.
Thank you.
Councilor President.
I just want to comment that we've had some conversations through the Personnel Committee with regards to some of the things that Patty just mentioned. Just want everybody to know that I believe that our discussion is that we needed to move more quickly to help our employees and to help with the direction that this city is going. And currently, we seem to have had more thrown at us in the last month and a half than anybody could possibly imagine. So I believe that at this point, it's the right way to move forward. I certainly, and I think all of us said this at a meeting last September, this is the most important position we are going to hire in our careers. So we had better do it, and we better do it right. So if we need to take pause and have somebody come in and temporarily help sail this ship, whichever direction it's going, then I think that's our due diligence as a council.
Councilor Erickson.
Thank you. I think like most of us, this has been a area of contemplation for all of us. I do want to say that it has been my experience that there are many highly qualified people who look for these interim roles that step in. These are not going to be inexperienced. In fact, they're probably going to be more experienced than your average person because they're looking to help support cities who in a temporary nature where they're not looking for a full-fledged change of career. I've seen that in other work that I do, that interims are common. And so while I do look forward to the process that we go through, I have not been shy about that. I think it is not something I want to do quickly. I want to do it well. And so I would support the recommendation from the Personnel Committee in order for us to find someone who can provide that direct support right now and help us even in the longer term to look at how we want to structure our city. So I just want to appreciate the work that the Personnel Committee did, and I would support the recommendation for moving forward with an interim.
Doing some active looking for an administrator or a replacement. And I think that part of the overwork situation that is happening, I'm appreciative of and I understand and I thank the staff for what they've been doing. But it's that whole amount of work that they're doing that is the reason why I think we should get someone who's going to come in here and have some compassion and as great experience and knowledge as Clerk Nordine said, to get someone in here who's going to be the right fit to, and this ship, as far as it is on the course that it's on, I think it's the best time to try to find someone who's up for a challenge, that's going to want to come in and see us at our best and our worst and say, yeah, I want to go to Two Harbors and I want to help fix that and stay there and live to see what sort of progress I can bring, as opposed to I'm just going to fix it quickly and move on. And I think that we need to have someone who's going to be here that wants to stay here and see, the real ramifications of their decisions. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Like I said, I've been insulted. I don't think that I have. I've been here 31 years. I have a lot of compassion. I have a lot of passion for this job and for the city. I don't appreciate the rude emails that I've received from certain members of this council. And I don't appreciate comments like that.
Thank you, Clerk Nordine. I have first-handedly witnessed our interim counselor, or our interim administrator and deputy administrator in tears more times in the last 2-3 weeks than I have ever seen them even acknowledge emotions like that, because they are working so hard and diligently. And I will be one to absolutely say that they're going through a very stressful time, as well as the rest of our staff is. We're all trying to navigate the roughest waters I've ever seen. And I'll use Attorney Costley, in just talking with him, he said, a lot of this stuff we shouldn't be 20 miles from. We just plain shouldn't. And I completely agree with that, because it's getting to everybody, and we need to find somebody that can come in, and grizzled veterans that have ran multiple cities, and they can come in and work with staff. They already know the culture of how to work with different cities and municipalities, and I think that that's absolutely what we need, because otherwise we're going to lose staff members, I feel. And I'm not willing to put that on the line.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mayor Swanson.
Thank you for that passionate explanation, and again, I'm fine either way. I just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to weigh in. I think just, I know sometimes people are processors, and a big thing like this is a big deal. We talked about the administrator for some time, so making sure everybody has a chance to process that and so on. And then I just want to say a heartfelt, Patty, I apologize. Patty works very hard as a city clerk, and I apologize to you, and I look forward to sitting down and having conversations like we have in the past to kind of walk through everything and say, okay, what is it that I can do better as a mayor to make sure that I'm not offending you? So I look forward to that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Miles.
I just had a few questions, the interim, is there a specific time period, or it says 1 to 2 years? And then, I guess, Councilor Erickson kind of touched on it. What kind of experience with this person? You said they would be, they're not an intern.
I believe that the motion on the table is just accepting the personnel to work with Flaherty and Hood in starting this whole process so that we can actually, we will be able to sit down and actually vote and pick someone.
Okay.
It's just working with a firm that does this and knows what they're doing.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're all going to be going out and spending time looking for a city administrator, and I don't want to go that way.
Just to clarify, Mr. Chair, the League of Minnesota Cities provides a list of individuals who are interested in this work.
Thank you, Heather. All right, I'm looking for a roll call, please.
Mr. Chair, it's a motion.
We have a motion and a second on the table. Oh, it's a motion, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, new business item number 8. Accepting the recommendation of the Personnel Committee to refer to the city attorney a proposal for residency requirements for membership on certain city boards and commissions.
I'll move.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Chair, I know Councilor Glaser for some time has wanted all residents to reside within the city. I recall a time when we had those rules in place many years ago. You know, it becomes very difficult, so as council understands, to find people within the city sometimes. And so to keep things moving, to keep commissions quorum, I just want everybody to be aware that we have a lot of people who are serving right now in the 55616 zip code. But what I try to do as a mayor, making the appointments, is make sure there's no more than a couple that are outside the city, actual city municipal limits. And so, you know, sometimes there might be 3, sometimes it's 2 on a board of 7, but I do try to limit that, and then I just try to make sure that everybody's being represented. For example, I recently made the appointment of Mr. Frericks to the Trees and Trails. There was 2 individuals who were very interested who have backgrounds both in ATV and snowmobile. Both of those individuals lived very far outside the city limits, but expressed the excitement to make sure that the trail corridors match up with the city's trail plan and that effort. So those are things that I weigh as a mayor, and I think most mayors do, and so I just want everybody to be clear on that process. And again, there was a time where we kind of limited that to city limits, and that became problematic. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead with Patty first, and then I'll...
Just wanted to make a point of clarification, Mr. Mayor, I'm sure you're just misstating it, but the mayor doesn't actually make the appointments, the mayor makes the recommendations for the appointments, and the council actually makes the appointments.
Sure.
Robin?
Just with regards to Chris's concerns, I'm not saying that all boards and commissions need to be strictly city residents, but I think there are some that really need to be residents of the city. And the first 2 that come to mind are the Planning Commission and the Charter Commission. And those were the first 2 that I brought forward several months ago. So I'm just following up on the conversations that we've had over the last year about how do we appoint these citizens to be on these boards and yet make sure that the citizens of Two Harbors are being represented and their voices are being heard. So that's what I want us to look at.
Any other discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
New business item number 9. A motion accepting the recommendation of the Personnel Committee to refer to the city attorney a review of the process of making citizen appointments. Oh, I just read that one.
No, you didn't.
Oh, I thought I did. Okay.
The phone is all again.
Yeah, all right. A review of the process of making citizen appointments to city boards and commissions.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Chair, I'll speak to this. We do currently have a process. You know, I'm not going to claim that it's always been perfect, much to the mayor's sometimes inability to always move quickly on interviewing people. And not always knowing if there's gonna be more people that are interested in that process. Very open to any process changes. I think is established in our city charter that the mayor, again, yes, correction, doesn't make the appointment, makes a recommendation for the appointment. And that seems to be a process that's worked for us quite a bit in the past.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
just to follow up, what the Personnel Committee discussed at the meeting and why this is being proposed is that there are a couple of boards or commissions that have a council member on them, and then they have a representative that's really a council member but has been appointed as a citizen representative. And I find that a little conflict of interest, so I wanted that reviewed to make sure that the citizens are supported in helping our community grow, and we don't have the same people sitting on the same committees all the time.
Go ahead.
I think
Patty?
Councilor Clauser is referring to the next issue. The item number 25, or the next motion that we're talking about with citizen members. I think the question on this particular one was, no, I'm confused.
Go ahead.
A review of the process.
Oh, I apologize, Mr. Chair, I do apologize, I have to back up the bus again. This particular one would be to make sure that as citizens are appointed to boards and commissions, that they be referred to the agenda and all of us have the opportunity to vote. Is that correct, Patty?
I don't know, but you brought this up.
I don't, but I think that's where we were going, because they tend to be on the consent agenda rather than under the new business.
I think one of the other concepts is that sometimes there might be people who have reached out and aren't being considered by the mayor that other counselors may find a fit for the position. And so if the only way currently is through the recommendation that there be at least a review by the city attorney to find if there's another option for folks to be considered for those positions if there's only one person who can make recommendations. I think that was a question that was brought up to me through the personnel questions that I had.
Mr. Chair, just a reminder that the current process is pretty straightforward. And it just says that basically the mayor has the opportunity to make the recommendation. And if there's anybody, we do have a process around people getting on a list that gets put into, a sheet now that they apply, like an application sheet. So there's a process. I just want everybody to be really clear. It sounds almost like that we're saying this isn't organized. It's very organized. I work with Carrie and Patty in the office. And, the question then becomes who's a fit. And there's a lot of things I look at when I'm making those appointments or when I'm making that recommendation. I look at just making sure that there's a knowledge and understanding sometimes. Sometimes I want somebody that's new because there's maybe some people on there that can teach or mentor. And I think we've done a really good job of going around to all the commissions. We did find out we missed on one that we need to catch up with, which is the airport commission. So I think overall it's been a good process.
I'm gonna call on Patty and then Derek.
I think, I'm not going to mince my words. The reason for this request is because we've had several of the mayor's appointments on FIDA that are employees of his. And that's why the question was brought to my attention, and I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, I just need to ask a question. We just got done talking about conflict of interest. Nowhere in there does it say that there can't be people who are employed within our community who are very, very skilled at things to be appointed to different commissions. That's not a conflict of interest, Mr. Attorney, is it?
I will render an opinion.
Well, this has never been a problem before. It's occurred with other people in the past. It's never been expressed as a concern. And I just want the chair to know there's one individual. That's it, one. Okay, so that I think it needs to be pointed out that that's the case. And that person is very, very gifted at what they do, and I'd stand by that person anytime.
Mr. Chair, I will remind this council, you have my analysis for conflict of interest, you have the standard, you have this code, you have the charter, you have the statute. then that would follow. If you want me to render an opinion on that specific issue, I will do that.
Derek?
My understanding that the process and procedure for establishing the choices for the commissions are designated by charter. And if there's going to be a change to that, it would have to be a charter amendment.
Or city code.
Or city code? Or city code, oh. Okay.
Go ahead, Patty.
I will also remind the council that there are members on the Charter Commission who were recommended by the mayor who are employed by him as well.
Mr. Chair, I think it's obvious to the room here and to others outside this room that I'm involved in a lot of businesses. I'm a business owner who employs a lot of people. But I can tell you that in my decisions and putting people in positions, I do not look at if somebody's an employee of mine. I do not discriminate that way. I look at different things such as abilities and so on. But I would like to know who is on the Charter Commission as an employee of mine, because the last time I checked, I do not have anybody that's on the Charter Commission who is an employee of mine. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other discussion on this item?
I'll just say, since I staff for the commissions, I receive a lot of applications, which they CC Patty and I both on, and they don't hear anything back. So I know that there is a lot of interest in the commissions, it's just not coming forward to the council.
Mr. Chair, again, that's why I just wanted the process to be reviewed, and if the attorney can give us some advice on how to make this a better process, that would be great. I know just from the conversation that was held with regards to the members of the HRA, it seems that some of them, they've turned out, and so we're a little concerned with the small board, how we proceed to continue to make sure that the HRA is moving forward. So just, you know.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to point out that I believe, interviewed every person that I'm aware of that has applied. And so this is not a process of looking into this and saying that they haven't been spoken to. If I miss some, I do apologize. But I believe that I do speak with everybody. And I think in regards to the HRA, I do not believe there's anybody that's on the list. But if there's somebody on the list, would love to interview them and talk to them. But I do look for a formal application, that's the process.
We currently have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, maybe we need to do a roll call now.
If you'd like to. I'm okay with the roll call, please, Patty.
Woodruff?
Yes.
Lodger?
Yes.
Renwald?
Yes.
Swanson?
Yes?
Passy?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Redden?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, new business item number 10. A motion accepting the recommendation of the Personnel Committee to refer to the city attorney a proposal to amend the city code to not allow the appointment of council members as citizen members on city boards and commissions.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion on this item? Go ahead.
I will speak to this. I am, I chair the Trees and Trails Commission. We are guilty of that. We have a city council member who is a member of the Trees and Trails. And this is because she chooses to attend it as a citizen and not by appointed member by this council. And we came upon this situation because I've been a member of the Trees and Trails for 6 years preceding my election to city council. To prohibit members of committees from being citizen members, really, these are the very members that are active in the community and should be encouraged to continue to serve the community. And if they get elected to the city council, they should not be prohibited from serving on a committee that they have enjoyed and served up to that point. But this is something that we need to refer to the city attorney. I would actually suggest that we look at having provision to have, I really think that Jackie Reynolds on the Trees and Trails Commission should be paid by the city if she's serving on that commission. Similar to how the Planning Commission is, with 2 counselors on the Planning Commission.
Mr. Chair, I serve as the council representative on the Planning Commission, and Mayor Swanson serves as the citizen representative on the Planning Commission.
I'm appreciating that this will be referred for recommendation from our city attorney. I think all of those things that have been shared can be part of that discussion, and I look forward to more discussion. I do think that there is concern often to not draw the line because we don't all wear signs that say, I'm not the counselor, I'm the commission, the community member during those different roles. So I appreciate that there can be some challenges there. So knowing that from our city planner who has shared that there's a lot of interest in committees and commissions, you know, I think that we should be looking at it that way first, and then in the event that there are commissions or committees that can't be filled for some reason, maybe that's a recommendation that comes as a second tier versus. But again, I will defer my thoughts until the city attorney shares his commentary, so I appreciate that.
I'll just share with you, Mr. Chair. You know, a lot of times I don't remember what I had for lunch, but I'm pretty confident that the League of Minnesota Cities has rendered an opinion that a council member serving as a citizen member on a committee is a conflict of interest. I think that's what you're going to see, but I'll give you a formal opinion on that.
Any other comment on that?
Mr. Chair, I would like to just thank Councilor Passy for that, and I have appreciated just being a citizen member on Trees and Trails while not knowing that it was a potential conflict of interest, because it happens apparently on other committees and commissions over time. And so I do recommend also, I agree that it should go to the attorney and let him look at it, but I also think it's sad because there are a lot of people who, as a citizen, you want to be part of something, and the Trees and Trails is something I've enjoyed. And that there is a lot of talent or knowledge and experience that won't be able to be tapped into, at least during a person's terms. So thank you, Councilor Passy, for that too.
Mr. Chair, so I don't want to discredit Jackie from the Trees and Trails. There is, out of all of the commissions that I staff, there is no question ever who the council representative is, and Jackie has done a lot of work for Trees and Trails in the time that I've been here, and we were all actually really excited about her staying on. So if she can't stay on, I understand, but she has been wonderful on the commission.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
New business item number 11. A motion accepting the recommendation of the Personnel Committee that an annual review of the city's conflict of interest policy, code of conduct, communications policy, respectful workplace policy, and all pertinent documents be conducted with the city council, that the council be provided with copies of these policies and requested to sign an acknowledgement that these documents have been reviewed annually.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
And number 12, new business. A resolution accepting the recommendation of Mayor Swanson to appoint Phil Arnold to the city HRA.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion on this item? Roll call, please.
Woodruff,
Yes.
Washer,
Yes.
Renwald,
Yes.
Swanson,
I'm gonna abstain because I don't know if I understand the conflict of interest in regards to the fact that I'm making the recommendation.
Bassett,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Reddick.
Yes. All right, we are going to move on to announcements. Mr. Mayor, you have any announcements this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, I do. Just a couple. Let me get this up here. First of all, what an awesome time. Winter Frolic was great, and I want to say thank you to all the volunteers, the Winter Frolic staff, our city staff, which include putting out snow, making snow hills for the kids, covering First Avenue in downtown with snow. It was a wonderful time. A lot of people had a great time, so that was something I want to share and say we're very thankful for that effort. I have news about the Winter Frolic curling challenge between the city of Two Harbors and Lake County. We're fairly certain that Lake County cheated, but Councilor Renwald had the shot of the night, and she got a big applause from in the stands there at the curling club. So a lot of fun. We ended up coming up short in the last shot, but it was great. So I was really pleased to hear about the Cedar Coffee. I'm going to call it the Cedar Coffee Project tonight. Dan, thank you, Dan. Big commitment. I know what it takes now. Construction costs are through the roof. To do any sort of building, it's extremely expensive. And we're just thankful for that facility and all the folks up there and the jobs and staff. Jen, thanks for working on that. It's much appreciated. And then you heard earlier there's a big water leak, and I just want to say thank you to the staff. Hopefully I know they're still working on it. Hopefully they'll get to it. But the staff has been working really hard on that, and we appreciate that work in this cold weather, and it's not a lot of fun. And then to the city of Duluth for offering assistance in that as well. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Go ahead, Darren.
I want to thank everybody in this room for showing up and spending 2 to 3 hours with us, and encourage you to keep being involved in this community. Thank you.
All said, Darren. Thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Did you get a chance to speak?
I'm sorry you weren't on the list at the beginning of the evening.
Oh, wow, that's strange, because we were raising our hands the whole time, and I thought we had a chance to speak because we're citizens, but I guess I was wrong.
No, there's a time for public comment. I was just reminded.
I was just gonna bring up how my wife had sent in her for working with the city, and she had sent it to every one of the council members, and mysteriously, our illustrious mayor didn't get it. It's just so, it's strange, because I know he's telling the truth.
And I know we got one because he responded.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
that might be something the monitor is interested in. Yep.
No, I didn't have to.